And Katrina Stewart and the author and broadcaster Emma Wall. So morning to both of you. Good to see you both. Nice and cool this time at least, but it's going to hot up a little bit later, so we're in the right place. Let's kick off with the Sunday Telegraph, shall we, Emma?
Yeah.
Their headline, and I think another of the papers has this as well, Nigel Farage saying he's going to scrap tax paid on overtime. So talk us through what he's proposing.
Yeah, and as you say, on the front of the Express, it's even more kind of pithy. We'll axe tax on overtime. So this is Nigel Farage's pledge, first big sort of tax policy pledge to working Brits, very much aimed at working, hard-working Brits. If you earn less than £75,000 and you work overtime more than 40 hours a week, you will not pay income tax on the overtime. This is Farage really going for the jugular, obviously taking on Labour, we know that, he's been doing this. He's claiming that Labour are no longer the party of the patriotic working class and that he will help out people who are getting up every day, alarm clock Britain, that kind of thing. It's straight out of the kind of Trump playbook, it's, you know, no tax on tips, that kind of idea. And I think it's not fully costed, we don't have all the detail yet. And of course, Farage is already being criticised, you know, he doesn't announce any policies, and then when he does announce policies, people are saying, well, how on earth are you going to pay for this?
Well, he has had to backtrack in the past, hasn't he? He's made certain tax promises and then said, actually, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, and we are out 3 years out from general election, so it's difficult to have to fully cost everything, I would say, as a party in opposition. But I think it's the kind of policy that will be very popular. Even without the detail, I think it's the kind of policy that will cut through and say to people, you know what, you can keep more of that money. There are lots of people. I mean, 75,000 is a high salary in this country. There are lots of people who will be on 40 or 50. And, you know, even there are people who are going to be on 100, so there are all questions about people gaming the system and taking a cut, but then doing more overtime to get... So there's lots to be discussed, but I think it's a bold, strong policy that will reach people.
Do you agree with that, Katrina?
It's definitely a headline grabber, but as you say, Nigel Farage has made other fiscal statements and tax pledges, and then he's had to U-turn on them. And I do think the nitty-gritty of this, the detail of this, will be important. As Emma says, we are 3 years out from a general election, but there have been rumbling suggestions maybe of a snap election at some point. So, of course, Reform, as the party putting themselves up directly against Labour, want to position themselves as being the party of the working class. But then this piece is specifically referencing nurses, police officers, civil servants. These aren't traditional working class jobs, these are middle class jobs. But I think one of the other issues about this as well is that Reform has said that it doesn't support minimum wage. It would be quite nice if they were coming up with something that would make work paid. Do we want to be working more overtime? Wouldn't we like to have work-life balance in a situation where you didn't have to work all of these additional hours, more than 40 hours a week, just to make ends meet?
Do you think that's right, that this rewards working longer hours? It sort of encourages working longer hours? And the other criticism that I've seen is the 75,000 limit. You're basically offering a tax break to some better-off people. 75,000 is quite a large...
But there are lots of people under 75,000 who will also benefit.
But would you not set the limit lower, is all I'm saying? Do you think that would be a popular limit?
Possibly. And I don't think it... Just to respond to what you said, it's not exactly... Those aren't exactly working-class jobs. He hasn't really positioned it as working class. He's talking about working Britain. He's very much talking about, you know, the ballooning benefits bill.
But not all people get paid to do overtime, do they?
No, exactly. I mean, look, it's all of these are salient points. But I just think at a time when obviously Reform are under pressure with, I think, one of our next stories, you know, questions over donations, and whether people really care about that or whether they care more about their own work, their own salary, what they can do for their families, and their anger at people who are not working just being given, you know, a much easier ride or being paid not to work.
Yeah, and I think specifically in this situation, I'm saying working class because Andy Burnham is very consciously pitching himself towards the working class rather than working people. And we know that those are two differently defined groups of people. But this is Reform UK and Farage pitching themselves in the short term against Labour in the context of the Makerfield by-election and the potential ramifications of that. So I think he is trying to pitch himself to the working classes, but is slightly falling foul of it with this proposition.
We'll see. There'll be lots of debate about it.
Absolutely.
We'll see how it does fly, so to speak. But we are sticking with the issue of Nigel Farage because he makes the front page of the Mail on Sunday as well, saying that he thinks his phone was hacked.
Yes, and this is a useful story for Nigel Farage and for Reform UK on two levels. One of the, again, in this context of Reform UK pitting itself directly against Labour as the two main parties in Britain at the moment, one of the big Labour attack lines against Nigel Farage has been that he is a Putin puppet, that he is too supportive of Russia and too close to Moscow. And
which, of course, he would
deny. But it's in regards to comments that he's made previously with in relation to the war in Ukraine and saying that he admires Putin not as a person but as a political operator. But whether he denies it or not, certainly it is a Labour attack line and it is something that has caused him slight issues in the past. He also has ongoing questions around this large crypto donation from the billionaire Christopher Harborne, and he wants to deflect from that. He wants to divert from that because it is a talking point that's ongoing. There's an investigation underway. It could lead to suspension from the Commons. And so you see
that's how the news of that got out.
So he's saying that only 4 people knew about this donation, which I think is a pretty problematic framing for Nigel Farage to be voluntarily putting out there. But he's saying there's no way that this could have come out into the public domain, and he's worried that his phone was hacked. So it's useful as a distraction from this huge donation that he was given and didn't declare, and also it distances himself from his supposed close relationship with Moscow. But wouldn't it be refreshing if a politician might have their phone hacked and there'd be nothing controversial to be found? Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, he says it's not controversial. He says he's done nothing wrong. He still maintains it, even though it's being looked at more closely, isn't it, by parliamentary standards committees. But what do you make of this?
Well, I mean, I think any high-profile politician, any leader of a party, especially someone as high-profile as Keir Starmer or Nigel Farage, is going to be at risk, and there are going to be controversial things on their phone, even issues of national security in the case of the Prime Minister. I think we need more transparency around the whole issue of donations. Where is the money going to, for all parties? Where is the money going to? What is it for? Is it for personal use? Who's it come from? Is it coming from abroad? Because, again, there are questions about, in other papers, about donations coming from abroad, up to 15 million potentially. For various parties. So I think, yeah, we just need more transparency on this. I mean, across the political spectrum and across their expenses and living expenses and travel and offices and personal donations and all of this. It is a problematic line for Nigel Farage to say only 4 people knew about this, but the donation's completely above board. But of course, some things need to be kept confidential and private at that level.
Let's move on, shall we, to a story picked up in the Sunday Times, something that we're leading our bulletins on this morning. Donald Trump's optimism that a deal that's being talked about with Iran is getting a lot closer. There's some US officials have briefed at the Axios news website with some of the details of what it might contain, but we've had no response from Iran, so we can't get ahead of ourselves on this. But certainly America talking up the prospects of a peace agreement.
Yeah, and it's been quite dramatic over the past few days. We've seen sort of, motorcades rushing back to the White House. I believe Donald Trump missed his son's wedding for this. J.D. Vance being rushed back to the White House. This was quite dramatic, and I think it was around 8:30 last night. Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social, his social media network, about this breakthrough with Iran. It's still, I think the key part of the statement is subject to finalisation, because we have been here before. It looks like we're edging closer to a deal with Iran, but that key issue of nuclear and whether or not, because Trump is still maintaining they will never, we will not sign anything until they agree, they will never acquire nuclear weapons, and Iran are still not that.
They always say that they won't, but
yeah.
it's whether or not they'll give up their enriched uranium as well, isn't it?
Exactly. The other part of it is the reopening. He said, Donald Trump said, the Strait of Hormuz will be opened, will be fully opened. So let's see. We have been here before. He has made... And it's difficult with Donald Trump because he says, at the one hand, talks are going brilliantly. And on the other hand, he says, but if they're not, if they don't agree, we will hit them so hard they'll never be... And it's an odd way of negotiating, that you are being friendly with your adversaries on the other side of the negotiating table. You're also threatening them.
And it's a big question, I guess, is whatever deal does get done, whether it's better than the situation before the war started.
Exactly. And I feel with this situation, there's progress, and yet it always feels like Groundhog Day, because we're consistently in the position where Donald Trump is being extremely bombastic. He's saying that the war is nearly done, a deal is nearly done, and then Iran is saying something completely different. We don't have the finer details behind that. And that is, again, the situation here is where we have Trump's position, but we don't have Iran's position. There's still a lot of questions to be dealt with, whether Iran will clear the Strait of Hormuz of mines, whether there will be a toll situation. Of course, Trump doesn't want that. But I think it's at the point now where, yes, the question is, will the situation be better than it had been previously? But I think at this point, Trump is in a position where he just wants to save face and he wants this to be done and dusted as quickly as possible because it's so damaging for him domestically.
It is slower on the Iran side because they have to get it signed off with their supreme leader who's not well at all and isn't able to... and Trump does come out and make these bellicose statements, but we do know that he's had discussions with Netanyahu, with other Gulf leaders. So, you know, things are moving and there is talk of this 30 to 60-day cessation of the war and of, you know, the US blockade on Iranian ships. So it looks like, but again, we have to wait until something is signed and absolutely in place and holding.
Let's just skip through a couple of lighter stories at the end. Let's spring into spring, says the Sunday Express. I mean, this extraordinary bank holiday weather, the fact that it's sunny and a bank holiday is news.
It's the half-term as well. It's
and
the
it's
half-term for
half-term.
many of us who are under the cosh. It's the half-term, it's the bank holiday, and it really is hot. I know it's a cliche, but it is so hot. Too hot to sleep. Wonderful at 4 in the morning. But, I mean, in central London, it's, you know, yesterday was over 30. I think it's going to hit 32, 33, all around the country. I think it's lovely. Is it all?
I think
lovely in
I was
Scotland?
reading the northwest that it was likely to be a bit cloudier and rainier today.
Well, we've had rain for the past few days. I've been enjoying listening to everybody in England boasting about their lovely sunny weather. We've had rain, but it was lovely to fly down. I was debating whether or not to bring a jacket. I didn't bring a jacket, and I feel
That's
like
quite
I've made
risky,
the right choice.
Bold move, but I back it. And I do want to talk about this story because I've only read the headline, but it's a little worrying. Cheese on toast, bad for your gut.
Well, how do I get involved in an academic study where all I have to do for a couple of months is eat cheese every day?
Amazing.
Where do you sign up for these things? It's marvellous. So,
Very quickly, sorry, we're not...
University College Dublin has tracked people eating cheese. Is it better for you melted or not melted? Don't melt your cheese. Great for your gut microbiome. If it's not melted...
OK.
kills
We're
it.
out of time.
Everything's melting now.
One thing to take away this weekend, don't make the cheese. Top stories. Thank you, guys.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist